God told me to tell you this today. You have done your part. Now watch him do his. My friend, do not scroll past this moment. Do not treat this like just another message. And do not ignore what heaven is placing in front of you right now. Because this word is for the person who has been carrying too much for too long. Praying through tears, smiling through exhaustion, and standing in faith while everything around you has tried to make you fall. You have cried in silence, fought battles nobody knows about, and held on when your heart felt weak. And today, the Lord is saying, I saw every prayer. I saw every sacrifice. I saw every night you almost gave up. And I have not forgotten you. This is not the hour to collapse in despair. This is the hour to lift your head and recognize that a holy shift has begun. Just as Jehoshaphat and the people of Judah stood before a battle, they could not win by human strength. And the Lord told them in 2 Chronicles 20:17 to stand firm and see the salvation of the Lord. God is speaking that same kind of word over your life right now. You have been trying, pressing, enduring, obeying, and trusting, but there comes a moment when human effort reaches its limit and divine intervention begins. That is where you are now. This is not the end of your story. This is the turning point. This is the place where heaven steps into what earth could not fix. So I need to ask you, how many of you have been praying and waiting for God to move? How many of you know deep in your spirit that you cannot go forward the same way you have been going? Stay with me until the very end. Because what God is about to reveal in this message will strengthen your faith, heal your heart, and awaken your expectation. Something greater is still ahead. Something weightier is still coming. And the Lord is not finished with you. If you receive this word, comment 777 right now and declare, God is doing his part. Like this message, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs this reminder today. Because the God who brought you this far is about to show you that he never fails. There are seasons in life when the pain is so deep that words begin to fail. When the burden becomes so heavy that even breathing feels like an act of faith. And when the silence of heaven seems louder than the noise of the world, this is where many of you are standing right now. You have kept going while secretly breaking. You have answered people with a tired smile, while your soul has been carrying questions too heavy to speak aloud. You have tried to stay strong, tried to stay faithful, tried to keep your heart from collapsing under the pressure. But this battle has cut deeper than anyone knows. And that is why this moment is so sacred. Because God is not speaking to the surface of your life right now. He is speaking directly into the wounded places, into the hidden grief, into the private exhaustion, into the chamber of your spirit where only he can enter. Hannah knew what that kind of anguish felt like. Inet Samuel et. She stood in a place where her sorrow had ripened into tears, where her longing had become almost too painful to carry, and where even those around her could not rightly discern the depth of what she was enduring. She was misunderstood on earth, but perfectly seen in heaven. She was emptied before men, but she was being heard by God. And that is the word over you right now. What has been misread by people has not been missed by God. Every silent cry, every midnight prayer, every trembling moment when you almost gave up but still whispered, his name has been gathered before the throne of heaven. None of it was wasted. None of it was ignored. None of it disappeared into the dark. See, yes, Lewis once wrote in The Problem of Pain that God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. There is something terrible and holy about pain, because it strips away illusion. It exposes what cannot save you, and it brings the soul face to face with its desperate need for God. Not because God delights in watching you suffer, but because He loves you too deeply to leave you leaning on broken things. So do not call this season abandonment. Do not call this silence rejection. Do not call this delay the death of the promise. God is doing a work beneath the wound. He is strengthening what grief tried to weaken. He is purifying what disappointment tried to poison. He is preparing in secret what will one day stand in the light as undeniable proof that He was with you the entire time. So let me ask you with all the weight of this word, have you mistaken God's silence for His absence? Have you looked at the delay and concluded that the promise was over? Stay here, because what comes next reaches even deeper. And if you still believe that God sees every tear you have cried, declare it boldly. God sees me. You need to understand this with absolute clarity. Your obedience was not wasted. Your faithfulness was not overlooked, and your endurance was not meaningless. Every time you chose prayer over panic, heaven took notice. Every time you chose to stay pure when compromise looked easier, God recorded it. Every time you worshipped with a tired heart, to forgave when the wound was still fresh, or kept walking when everything in you wanted to sit down and quit, the Lord saw it all. What looked small to others was never small to God. What felt hidden on earth was never hidden in heaven. People are listening to this right now who have wondered in silence, did any of it matter? Did my waiting matter? Did my tears matter? Did my faithfulness in the dark matter? And the answer is yes, more than you know. Noah obeyed God before there was rain, before there was evidence, before anyone around him understood what he was doing. Day after day, he built in obedience, while the world mocked what it could not discern. And what seemed foolish in one season became the very thing that preserved life in the next. That is how God works. He will often ask you for obedience before He gives you an explanation. He will call you to faithfulness before He shows you manifestation. He will test whether you can trust His voice before you ever see His hand. And that is why the enemy worked so hard to make you feel tired, invisible, and discouraged. Because if he could not stop your calling, he wanted to exhaust your confidence. If he could not destroy your purpose, he wanted to convince you that your quiet obedience had accomplished nothing. But the devil is a liar. Galatians 6, 9 declares, and let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap, if we do not give up. In other words, due season is not imaginary, and harvest is not a fantasy. There is a set time in the wisdom of God when what you carried in obedience begins to break forth in reward, in fruit, in clarity, and in visible evidence that the Lord was working all along. So hear this deeply. Your obedience built something. Your faithfulness preserved something. Your surrender opened something. Your prayers moved something. Your consistency prepared something. You were not just surviving a hard season. You were laying down sacred groundwork for the move of God that is still ahead of you. And this is why you must not let weariness interpret your story. Weariness will tell you nothing is happening. Pain will tell you nothing is changing. Delay will tell you nothing is coming. But the word of the Lord says otherwise. The word says that those who remain steadfast in Him will not labor in vain. So lift your heart again, because what you did in secret is about to matter in the open. And what you carried faithfully before God is becoming the foundation for what He is preparing to reveal next. There comes a breaking point in the journey of faith when more effort is no longer the answer, when more striving no longer produces peace, and when the soul finally realizes that what it has been trying to carry was never meant to be carried without God. This is a painful revelation, because many people have been taught to admire constant motion, to praise relentless effort, and to mistake exhaustion for devotion. But there are seasons when what feels like strength is actually fear in disguise. When what looks like determination is really anxiety, trying to control an outcome that belongs only to the hands of God. That is why this moment is so deep, so urgent, and so spiritually weighty. Some of you are not tired because you lack faith. You are tired because you have been trying to do with human strength what can only be accomplished by divine power. You have been pushing on doors God never told you to force. You have been replaying battles in your mind that heaven never assigned to your hands. You have been trying to rescue what only God can restore, fix what only God can heal, and arrange what only God can align. And the pressure of that has been crushing your peace little by little. C.S. Lewis wrote in Mere Christianity, "If you have taken a wrong turning, then to go forward does not get you any nearer." What a piercing truth, because sometimes the holiest thing you can do is stop. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit that your striving has not brought you closer, only wearier. Sometimes the breakthrough begins not when you push harder, but when you surrender deeper. This is why Exodus 14 is such a powerful picture for the soul in crisis. Israel stood trapped between the sea and the army of Pharaoh, with nowhere to run and no human strategy left. And in that terrifying moment, the word of the Lord was not, "Fight harder." It was not, "Figure it out." It was not, "Save yourselves." The word was, "The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent." Can you feel the weight of that? Be silent. Stop the panic. Stop the frantic movement. Stop carrying a burden heaven never told you to hold. Because when God decides to step into a situation, your noise cannot improve His power, and your fear cannot strengthen His plan. He is calling you now out of pressure, out of panic, out of misalignment, and into the deep surrender where miracles begin. Faith is not passivity, and surrender is not weakness. This is where many people become confused in the middle of a hard season, because when they hear a word like this, they assume that trusting God means doing nothing, feeling nothing, confronting nothing, and simply waiting for heaven to move while their heart stays unguarded and their spirit grows dull. But that is not what true faith looks like. True faith is not spiritual laziness. True faith is not resignation. True faith is not collapsing under pressure and calling it peace. Faith is a holy posture of readiness. Faith is the decision to stop forcing what only God can perform, while remaining fully available for whatever He instructs next. It means you no longer live in panic, but you also do not drift into apathy. You no longer scramble for control, but you also do not abandon obedience. You no longer let fear drive your decisions, but you remain alert, listening, sober, and ready when the Lord speaks. That is the difference. Some of you have been living in religious panic, and panic always feels productive at first. It makes you think that if you worry more, think harder, push faster, speak more, fix more, and control more, then somehow the outcome will become safer. But panic is not faith. Panic is the soul trying to replace trust with motion. And the longer you live that way, the more exhausted you become, because you were never designed to carry the weight of outcomes that belong to God. Joshua 3 gives us a powerful picture of this. When the children of Israel stood before the Jordan River, the waters did not part while they stood at a distance, calculating possibilities. The miracle began when the priests carrying the ark stepped forward in obedience. They still had to move, but their movement was not frantic. It was surrendered. It was not born from fear. It was born from trust. And that is the word for you now. God is not asking you to disappear from your own life. He is asking you to stop acting as though you are the savior of it. There is still a part for you to play. Keep praying. But do not pray from desperation alone. Pray from expectation. Keep obeying. But do not obey as one trying to earn God's intervention. Obey as one who already trusts his heart. Keep showing up. Keep speaking truth. Keep forgiving. Keep guarding your spirit. Keep rejecting bitterness. Keep managing wisely what has already been placed in your hands. But do all of it from a place of surrendered confidence, not inward chaos. Because faith says, I will do what God told me to do, and I will leave in His hands what He never asked me to control. That is maturity. That is spiritual strength. That is how peace survives in the middle of uncertainty. Let me ask you something honestly. Are you really trusting God? Or are you exhausting yourself trying to make the promise happen by human force? Are you waiting in faith? Or are you drowning in anxious effort and calling it commitment? There is a difference, and that difference matters more than you realize. God never asked you to manufacture the miracle. He never asked you to manipulate the timing. He never asked you to carry tomorrow before it arrives. He asked you to trust Him today. He asked you to obey the last thing. He asked you to keep your heart open, your spirit clean, and your hands free enough to receive what He is preparing to release. So this is your call to holy readiness. Release control, but not conviction. Lay down panic, but not prayer. Surrender your timeline, but not your expectation. And if you are ready to stop striving and start trusting at a deeper level, declare it boldly, even now. I trust God's timing. What does it look like when God begins to step into a situation you could no longer fix on your own? It does not always arrive the way your emotions expect, and it does not always enter with the shape your imagination prepared for. But when God moves, the evidence is undeniable. Sometimes His intervention comes like a sudden opening, a door you did not force, a conversation you did not arrange, a connection you did not manufacture, and a breakthrough you know your own strength could never have produced. Sometimes it comes quietly, as peace returning to a mind that has been tormented for months, as strength rising in a heart that was nearly ready to give up, as clarity forming where confusion once ruled, and as a deep-settled assurance that the hand of God is rearranging what you cannot yet fully see. Do not make the mistake of thinking that if the answer does not look dramatic, then God is not moving. Heaven does not need to be loud to be powerful. Ruth did not step into her new season through noise, spectacle, or frantic striving. She walked in quiet faithfulness, carrying grief, uncertainty, and loss, Yet God was already preparing a field, a favor, and a future she could not yet imagine. What looked like an ordinary provision became divine positioning. What seemed like survival became the doorway to restoration. That is how God often works. He begins with what looks small to human eyes. But inside that small beginning is the power to redirect an entire life. Some of you are waiting for fire from heaven, while God is already moving through details. Timing, relationships, and unseen alignments. Some of you are asking for one giant sign while God is sending a series of mercies, each one carrying proof that He has not forgotten you. He moves people. He shifts atmospheres. He breaks old cycles. He restores appetite where sorrow stole desire. He gives courage where fear had built a home. He sends provisions into places that felt dry and final. And when He does, you begin to realize that the answer was never absent. It was being assembled. Esther also stands as a witness to this truth. She did not know, in the early part of her journey, that every painful separation and every hidden transition was part of divine placement for a decisive hour. Yet when the moment came, it became clear that God had been arranging more than she could understand. This is your reminder that divine intervention is not random. It is precise. It is timed. It is intentional. And when God begins to act, even what once looked delayed can suddenly reveal itself as perfect preparation. So lift your eyes and pay attention. The shift may already be closer than you think. Because when God decides it is time, what has been forming in secret begins to step into the visible. What if the delay has not come to destroy you, but to develop you? What if the season that made you question everything is the very season heaven is using to prepare you for what you once begged God to release? This is where many souls become weary, because delay has a cruel way of speaking to the mind. It whispers that nothing is happening. It suggests that maybe you missed your moment. It tries to convince you that the promise has expired, that the door has closed forever, that the years were wasted, and that the pain was empty. But delay does not always mean denial. Sometimes, delay is divine alignment. Sometimes, what feels late to you is actually mercy. Sometimes, what feels like silence is God refusing to hand you too soon what your spirit is not yet ready to sustain. Joseph is one of the clearest witnesses to this truth. The dream came early, but the throne did not. The promise was real, but the process was long. Between the word and the fulfillment stood betrayal, misunderstanding, false accusation, hidden years, and deep loneliness. Imagine how easily Joseph could have concluded that the dream had died. Imagine how many nights he may have wrestled with confusion, asking why a God who speaks so clearly would allow such painful detours. And yet the delay was not empty. The pit was not empty. The prison was not empty. God was building a man strong enough to carry the weight of influence without being destroyed by it. God was shaping character that could survive promotion, pain that could deepen wisdom, and humility that could hold power without corruption. That is why you must be careful not to curse the process that is preparing you. Some blessings would crush a soul that has not been refined. Some doors would ruin a heart that has not yet been healed. Some answers would inflate pride, magnify wounds, or expose immaturity if they arrived before their proper time. So when God delays, it is not always because He is withholding. Sometimes it is because He is protecting, purifying, and positioning. He is preparing the blessing. Yes, but He is also preparing you. He is teaching you how to carry what you asked for. He is strengthening the inner life so that the outer answer does not become your downfall. He is cutting away what cannot go with you into the next season. He is confronting motives, healing hidden fractures, deepening discernment, and teaching trust at a level that convenience never could. That is why this season feels so intense. It is not casual. It is not random. It is not meaningless. It is the workshop of God. It is the furnace where false dependence burns away. It is the training ground where spiritual endurance is formed. It is the narrow corridor between promise and fulfillment, where the old version of you begins to die and the stronger version begins to rise. So ask yourself, honestly, what if this delay is not punishment, but preparation? What if this painful waiting is not proof that God forgot you, but proof that He refuses to release you into something great before He finishes forming what greatness will require? Do not quit in the middle of your becoming. Do not walk away while heaven is still working. Do not interpret the unfinished chapter as the final verdict. The same God who gave the promise is governing the process, and He does not lose track of what He has spoken. If you believe God is still preparing you, even in the waiting, declare it with strength. I will not quit. This is the shift. This is the moment where the weight begins to break, where the pressure begins to lift, where the atmosphere around your life begins to change, because God is no longer allowing you to remain under what His power has already marked for removal. Hear this with your spirit wide open. The striving is ending. The panic is breaking. The confusion is losing its voice. And the hand of God is moving over your life with power, precision, and holy authority. You have cried long enough under burdens you were never designed to carry. You have wrestled long enough with fears that were never permitted to rule you. You have stood in rooms filled with uncertainty, asking how much longer, wondering how much more, questioning whether the answer would ever come. But this is where heaven interrupts the cycle. This is where God steps into the storm and speaks with the kind of authority that silences what was threatening to destroy you. In Mark 4:39, when Jesus stood before the raging wind and the violent sea, He did not negotiate with the storm. He did not panic before the waves. He did not ask permission from chaos. He arose and said, "Peace, be still." And immediately the wind obeyed and the sea surrendered. That is the kind of power moving toward your situation right now. God is not intimidated by what has been intimidating you. He is not shaken by what has been shaking you. He is not confused by what has left you restless, weary, and desperate for relief. When He speaks, confusion must bow. When He speaks, fear must loosen its grip. When He speaks, delay must yield to divine timing. When He speaks, the atmosphere changes. So lift your head now. Lift your expectation now. Lift your faith now. Because something is breaking in the spirit before it breaks in the visible. The burden is lifting. The chains are weakening. The cycle is ending. The night is cracking open. You are stepping out of pressure and into peace. Out of exhaustion and into renewal. Out of uncertainty and into holy clarity. This is not a small adjustment. This is a divine interruption. This is a turning point. This is the hour where what has oppressed you begins to lose its hold because the Lord of Heaven is arising on your behalf. Stay ready, because what comes next will not look like the season behind you. It will carry the fingerprints of God. And when he finishes what he has begun, you will know without question that only his power could have brought you here. But hear this warning with all seriousness. The moment God begins to shift your season, the enemy will often tempt you to reach for shortcuts, counterfeit solutions, and flesh-driven answers that look fast but carry hidden destruction. This is where many people lose discernment. They become so tired of waiting, so desperate for relief, so hungry for change, that they begin to grasp at anything that promises quick movement. But not every open door is from God. Not every opportunity carries his blessing. Not every path that feels easier is leading you into freedom. Some doors open to distract you. Some voices rise to confuse you. Some offers appear not because heaven has spoken, but because the enemy knows you are vulnerable in your exhaustion. That is why you must stay spiritually alert in this hour. Do not let desperation make decisions for you. Do not let weariness rewrite your convictions. Do not let pain talk you into a version of deliverance that costs you your peace, your purity, your obedience, or your intimacy with God. Abraham is a sobering example of this. God had given him a promise, but when the fulfillment seemed delayed, human effort stepped in and tried to produce by the flesh what only God could bring forth by his power. Ishmael was born out of impatience, and what was created through human striving brought pain that echoed far beyond the moment. That story is not there to shame you, it is there to warn you.
Still can't let go. Thinking of the days we had leaves me lonely.